You are not moving toward your future. You are simply remembering a frequency that is already calling you. The life you seek is not ahead of you waiting to be earned. It is vibrating now in a subtle layer of reality, available to anyone who learns to tune their own signal. Everything you imagine yourself to be, feel, and experience already exists as a continuous broadcast within the quantum field. The difference between one who seeks and one who manifests is tuning. The field does not respond to the force of desire. It responds to the precision of frequency. And that frequency is not born from effort, but from coherence. Thought, emotion, and body vibrating in unison. That's why even when you try to go after something, the movement seems to push what you want even farther, because chasing is a disguised way of confirming lack. The future is not created through conquest, but through remembrance. It is already happening in another layer of your own consciousness, waiting for you to stop projecting yourself into time and start feeling what is already real. Every flash of clarity, every sudden sense of expansion, every inexplicable intuition is a call from that version of you that already lives the reality you desire. Change is not about moving from point A to point B. It is realizing that both have always existed in the same place, separated only by frequency. The journey is not forward, it is inward. From noise to silence, from searching to remembering, from lack to the field where everything already vibrates in readiness. There is a version of you that is already living the life you dream of. It is not a fiction created by optimistic thinking. It is a real frequency, an energetic identity that is already pulsing in the quantum field, waiting to be recognized. Every time you feel a surge of expansion, a sudden calm, or an unexplainable certainty, it is that version vibrating close enough to be perceived. The call does not arrive as an audible voice, but as an internal adjustment, an almost imperceptible shift between fear and presence, between doubt and trust. It is the moment when something in you, however briefly, remembers what is possible and what has always been true. In those moments, time seems to pause, the body relaxes, and thought loses importance. There is no achievement, only recognition. But the ego rarely understands this process. It tries to turn the call into a goal, silence into a task, remembrance into a race. And it is in this effort that the frequency falls out of tune. The invisible call cannot be chased, it can only be heard. And hearing, in this case, is not with the ears, it is with the entire field, with the body, with the heart, with vibration stabilized in stillness. Responding to that call is not about doing something new, it is about ceasing the movement that covers it. It's like wiping fog from glass. What seemed distant was always there, merely obscured. The version of you already living in wholeness does not need to be created. It needs to be welcomed, acknowledged, and inhabited naturally. When you stop seeking, you start listening. And in that listening, the path reveals itself not as direction, but as frequency, a vibrating remembrance of who you have always been. Reality is not built from scratch, it is tuned. Just as a radio does not invent the music it plays, you do not create the experiences you live. You simply choose, consciously or unconsciously, the station you are connected to. The universe is an infinite spectrum of frequencies coexisting now. Everything already exists. Abundance and scarcity, love and fear, flow and resistance. You don't need to create the new, you need to receive it. The body is the antenna. Your mind sets the direction of focus. Your emotions fine-tune the tone, and your energy determines the clarity of the signal. When there is coherence between thought, feeling, and presence, the field responds like a clear mirror. The reflection comes back sharp, fast, inevitable. But when there is internal conflict, a desire spoken aloud while a belief whispers the opposite, the signal scrambles. And life echoes noise, not melody. Most people try to change the reflection, forgetting that it is the transmitter that defines the image. They project effort, declare affirmations, construct plans, but their internal state continues to vibrate absence. And the field, impersonal and precise, simply amplifies whatever is active. Nothing personal, no punishment, just subtle physics. To receive is to align. It is to silence excessive intention and allow the body, this quantum instrument, to recognize the tone of what is already playing. It is not about desiring with more force, but desiring with more truth. to feel the already is so naturally that the field can no longer distinguish between inner and outer. You do not create the possible, you translate it. And the cleaner the transmission, the more reality responds in synchronicity, as if the entire universe were remembering, together with you, the original frequency that formed it. From an early age, you were taught to think of time as a line, the starting point, the effort, the arrival. And along that path, happiness, abundance, love, and peace were always placed ahead of you, like rewards reserved for when everything finally works out. But the quantum field doesn't operate through distance. It operates through frequency. There is no there to reach. There is only a here waiting to be recognized at another vibration. Linear seeking creates separation. Every time you think, one day I will be, the body hears, I am not yet, and that not yet becomes the dominant vibrational command, the pattern the field replicates faithfully. Not out of cruelty, but out of energetic precision. The universe responds to state, not intention. That's why those who chase peace rarely find it, because chasing vibrates agitation. Those who try to control love repel it, because control vibrates fear. The path that seems to pull you forward is often the very loop keeping you still, circling the absence that feeds on its own urgency. The shift happens when you realize there is no arrival, only remembrance. The life you imagine reaching in the future already exists now, in another layer of your own consciousness. Over there is only a metaphor for the here you have not yet learned to sustain with stability. When you genuinely feel what you wish to live, without expectation, without rush, simply with presence, time collapses. In that instant, the line bends, effort dissolves, and the future folds into the now. The journey stops being a chase and becomes a listening. And the question shifts from how do I get there to how can I be here what I already am there. The field does not speak in words, it responds in frequency. It does not understand promises, plans, or explanations. It recognizes only vibration. When the mind says, I trust, but the body vibrates tension and the heart beats in vigilance, the field does not hear the sentence, it hears the fear. And like a quantum mirror, it returns circumstances that confirm the dominant tone of your emission. This is the silent language of reality, coherence. When thought, emotion, and posture come into alignment, the universe responds with precision. There is no delay, no resistance, only correspondence. Because in essence, the field does not create by effort, it creates by reflection. It reorganizes particles, people, and probabilities to match the most stable state of your being. Every internal incoherence, desiring one thing while vibrating the opposite, is like trying to tune into two radio stations at once. The sound becomes distorted, intermittent, confusing. And the confusion doesn't come from the world, it comes from the signal you are transmitting. Which is why the work is not to convince the field, but to clean it of noise. To silence the mental drama, dissolve bodily tension, and align emotion with intention until the feeling of it already is becomes natural. From there, communication becomes direct. You no longer ask, you broadcast. You no longer explain, you radiate. And the field, ever faithful, responds in equal measure to your clarity. This is the grammar of the universe, coherent vibration. The purer the tone, the faster the echo. Everything else is noise. The field doesn't shout, it whispers. And to hear the whisper, you must quiet the internal noise that became normal. Excessive thought, urgency disguised as purpose, the constant search for confirmation. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is total presence. It is the moment when you stop trying to move the universe and begin to feel it moving through you. Listening is the forgotten technology of manifestation. While effort projects energy outward, listening gathers, centers, attunes. It is the point where the mind falls silent and the body can finally translate what the field has been saying all along. Because the field does not speak in logic, it speaks in sensation. It communicates through expansion in the chest, calm that appears without reason, sudden synchronicity that seems like coincidence, but is actually response. True communication with reality happens when you trade control for presence, when you stop planning how and begin noticing when, and the when is always now. It is within this silent now that the path reveals itself, step by step, without force. Everything you call reality is a dance of fields organizing themselves in response to consciousness. David Bohm called this the implicate order, an invisible fabric where all possibilities coexist before unfolding into form. Nothing is created from nothing. Everything is unfolded from a subtle dimension into the visible plane, guided by the vibration you sustain. You don't force reality, you reveal it. When your mind, emotion, and body enter coherence, you stop pushing the river and begin to flow with it. Matter at its core is slowed down consciousness, and when you shift your internal state, the density of everything around you shifts as well. People, events, and coincidences begin to follow a new pattern, not because the world obeyed you, but because the field recognized the new tone of who you are. The physics of being is simple and radical. Everything vibrates, and alike vibrations converge. If you vibrate fear, your attention selects what justifies fear. If you vibrate trust, the same reality begins to reveal secret passages that were always there but previously invisible. The world doesn't change, your frequency angles it differently. The turning point comes when you understand that consciousness is not inside the body is inside consciousness. And that consciousness, vast and precise, is the laboratory where universes are tested, dissolved, and reformed. Nothing is beyond your reach, because nothing is beyond your being. Everything you perceive exists because someone is perceiving it. The instant consciousness observes, the wave of possibilities collapses into form. This is the most misunderstood and most liberating quantum principle. The observer is not the victim of the universe. The observer is the trigger that makes it real. When you change how you look, what you look at changes. This isn't poetry, it's physics applied to the soul. Reality doesn't impose itself, it responds to the quality of observation. To look with fear is to solidify fear. To look with presence is to dissolve chaos. The field doesn't decide what will be created, it simply reflects the kind of gaze that touches it. This is why the observer is the portal between worlds. Each time you anchor yourself in the consciousness that witnesses, instead of the mind that reacts, you shift from one timeline to another. Nothing outside has changed. The collapse happened inside. The observer's frequency selected a different version of reality, and the world obeyed. The practice is simple, and it requires courage. Pause in the middle of the impulse and breathe. Recognize that there is a you before the thought, a silence before the emotion. It is there, in that microscopic interval, that the portal opens. And upon crossing it, you realize there was never any separation between the one who observes and what is observed. There is only consciousness, endlessly creating itself. The body is the most precise instrument consciousness has for navigating frequencies. It does not lie, dramatize, or postpone. It feels, and feeling is the dial that changes the station. Every emotion is a vibrational code. Fear tunes you to survival. Gratitude tunes you to creation. Love tunes you to expansion. Your nervous system is a living antenna, built to receive and transmit signals from the field. Each breath is an electromagnetic calibration. Every heartbeat, a wave of information exchanged with the universe. When the body is in coherence, breathing rhythmically, heart and brain in harmonic rhythm, it becomes a clear transmitter. In this state, you don't have to ask for anything. The field understands the command wordlessly. The common mistake is trying to change life without changing the body that lives it. To carry elevated beliefs inside a nervous system overloaded with stress is like trying to tune into clear music through static. The frequency won't hold, which is why real manifestation begins before the mind. It begins in the body. Breathe slower. Feel your feet, your skin, the rhythm pulsing within you. This is the quantum control panel. Silent but infallible, because the body feels the future before the mind can understand it. And when the body aligns, the world aligns with it. Every expansion comes with an echo. After a vibrational leap, when you momentarily sustain the frequency of your highest self, the nervous system looks for the way back to what is familiar. It's instinct, not sabotage. The body tries to return to the pattern it associates with safety, even if that pattern is limitation. This return is the silent test of conscious creation. It isn't the universe saying it didn't work. It's biology attempting to recalibrate. The mission is to sustain the new without demanding proof, without running back to the old comfort of fear. A frequency must be held long enough to become identity. During this phase, the field feels quiet. Synchronicities slow down, signs disappear, and the old world tries to call you back. But it's precisely in that interval that the new is germinating in the unseen. If you remain loyal to the vibration, without applause, without guarantees, the leap stabilizes. This is the moment when the seeker becomes the transmitter. When the old emotion finds no more room to dominate, consciousness rests in its new axis. The leap stops being an awakening and becomes a state. You no longer visit your future, you begin to inhabit it. Reality was never ahead of you. It has always been vibrating within your frequency.